It is spooky season. And what does that mean? That means I get to give you all the spooky recommendations so you can start your spooky year with cool recommendations. Because who doesn't love a book spooky? It's like my hat. My mum knitted it for me, or crocheted or whatever, and it's meant to be the sorting hat, and I don't quite think it's coming through very well, because it's not meant to, well, she didn't knit it for me to be wear, it just sits on the top of my bookshelf, like right at the top, you don't see it. So I don't think it's coming through as well, but we're rolling with it. Wait one moment. I have to tell you about this book that I just finished. Hi, Mair from the future here, or I'm interrupting this video to tell you about Where the Dark Stands Still, because oh my god, that book blew me away. I started that book and I wasn't 100% sure if I was going to like it, but then holy fucking shit I did, so I have to tell you about it. This has creepy forests, this has a woodland kind of demon, it has witches, it has this creature with antlers and like head, it's a whole thing, and it's amazing. So what do? You meet a main character. I do struggle with these names, so because I did the audiobook, I can't really, I don't know which is which, so I can't really pronounce it, but here we're just going to roll with it. Our main character is a witch that people kind of, well, she has magic, right? And a lot of people in this day and age, the time that it was set in, did not really like the fact that she had magic. So she decides to run to this forest to pick this particular flower or whatever for a kind of like to get rid of her magic or a wish, and she follows this stag, and this stag turns out to be a woodland demon, and he said, if you work for me for a year, I will then give you what you want, which is to remove her magic. We all are going to know, we're like, that's not answer to the question. That's not going to fix the problem that's happened. But anyway, so she starts working for him, and he starts trying to train her to use magic. But the trouble is, her magic is locked inside her. So he's like, oh shit, I need to, really, really help her, because he needs her magic for something, and he's keeping a lot of secrets. The characters are in this though. So that you have this manor is like derelict, and it's falling to pieces. And you have this kind of spirit that's still left over that is sassy as fuck still, and it's kind of like haunting the manor. And then you have like a ghost of a dog that keeps coming in, and there's the woodland demon is like, I don't want him anywhere near here because of secret reasons. I can't tell you because of spoilers, but there's a slight romance building between this, but it's more about the atmosphere of this whole book and the kind of secrets this woodland demon is keeping, because he is also protecting a lot of people in a lot of villages from like the darker side of this world, because he's technically the warden of it all. But then you have the main character who's slowly starting to unravel some secrets, getting closer to him in the process. He's like getting closer to her. Things are coming together, and it really came together at the end, and I almost cried at the end, but not at the point that if you've read this book that you would have thought so. But I adored this book so much, everybody just needs to go fucking read it, and I just had to interrupt this to tell you about this book because this is going on my recommendations list. I am not going to shut out about this book until people read it. Who doesn't love a book that's a little bit creepy, a little bit dark, and a little bit twisted? It hits all the points for spooky season. Do go read it. Back to the original video. Top of my list is one that I really think people don't read enough. And these are not recommendations that are there to make you, like, they're not horror recommendations. They're just spooky vibe books. They could be cozy, or they can just be a really fun kind of creepy story that you kind of go, oh, okay, there's a little bit atmospheric thing going on there. Top of the list, which not enough people read, is The Bone Orchard. I absolutely adored this when I read it, and I think it used to be around on like TikTok and Instagram with the year it came out. I did the audiobook, and the metaphors and the allegories it was such a good story, and not enough people have actually read it. I find it kind of died off a little bit, so I'm here to bring it back because I do really, really enjoy it. I enjoyed it when I read it. It's not a book I'm going back to every single year to read, like a couple of others might be on this list, but I really, really enjoyed it for what it was. What is it? You have Charm, who is a witch, and she's the last line of a conquered necromantic workers now confined to the yard of regrown bone trees at Orchard House and the secrets of their marrow. Interesting enough, yeah. Charm is a prisoner and a survivor, but you also have different personalities who live at this Orchard House, which is kind of an allegory for a prostitute house, which is shame, justice, desire, pride, and pain. And they all centre around one person, but they're all parts of this one person. And Charm kind of runs the establishment. But Charm herself is still selling herself out to the Emperor on Tuesdays, the only day that the Emperor himself will come for his mistress. Except this time, the Emperor summons her to his deathbed and tasks her with trying to choose which of his awful sons will carry on the empire. But also, from my memory, I believe there's also the Emperor didn't die of natural causes either, so there's that going on at the same time. And you get different POVs from Charm, from Desire, from Pain, from all of them, and it's a standalone story that is not well loved enough. It's such a beautiful told story that I do think it kind of fits that kind of creepy, atmospheric kind of vibe. Like, you're talking about prostitute that are just bones, that take the pain from the people, that these bone guard people, soldiers, pay time to spend with them because men. And the Emperor is dying and he's dead. And then Charm is the only one who can figure out who's going to rule the Empire and who killed him. And what will she get in return? Possibly her freedom. But is it really going to be her freedom when you think about the fact that the Emperor is dying and is dead? And can he really grant that? I don't know. But it's a book that I really think a lot more people should actually go out and read, because it's these sort of metaphors and everything that's woven throughout the story, and each of the characters are just so well crafted and done in such a short amount of page as well. Fucking loved it. I can't not recommend you a spooky season book without necromancers in space and gay. Gideon the Knights, baby. I love this. This series is a little bit trippy, and it was really difficult on how to explain what Gideon the Knights is, because people say lesbian necromancers in space, but it's not really anything to do with the romance or anything like that. There's hardly any of that there. It is there, but it's not. If you're going for a romance, you are going to be disappointed. But that is the most simplistic way to kind of describe this book, because it's gay as fuck. It's trippy as fuck. There's so much necromantic shit going on, but you spend most of this book just a little bit lost, because Gideon is a little bit lost, and Tamsin Muir, the way she describes and writes, never really tells you what's going on. You sort of have to grasp it yourself, and the way she does just write is just a little bit like throws you in the deep end. You're kind of scrambling to pick it up. But Gideon as a main character I've read three of the books of the series. Gideon still remains my favourite. She is my favourite character. She is butch. She loves her dirty magazines, and she hates the Knight's house. And what happens is the bare beginning of this story, shall we say, is Gideon is about to flee because she doesn't like living in this place. She's like, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm going to run away. But she gets caught, and what happens is there's this kind of big old emperor person, and all these houses are brought into this one particular place. But the trouble is the Knight's house doesn't have a bodyguard kind of figure. So they go, Gideon can just step in for that. And what they're all doing, all these people that come from these different houses, they're trying to be I want to say lictor, anyway, to get some power. But nobody's telling them how to do anything. They're sort of left on their own. It's kind of creepy where they are in this particular planet, space, place thing. And there's people dying all the time. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows who. That's kind of the bare bones of it. Let me just read you. Honestly, the opening line to this is just incredible. In the Magiatic year of our Lord, the 10,000th year of the King Undying, the kindly Prince of Death, Gideon Nab packed her sword, her shoes, and her dirty magazines, and she escaped from the house of the Knight. Please go. I almost want to reread this. Oh, I'm so tempted to reread this. I mean, if I wasn't doing hardest reading challenge I'll ever do, I would be rereading this year, because I love it. I love it so much. I've read it so many times, annotated it. And it's just go read it. Just trust on faith. But also, if you're a reader who likes to be told what's happening, this is not the book for you. It's just not. You need to kind of take a leap of faith and be like, it will kind of come together. Just trust in the narrative, and you might get there. But don't expect to be told whatever's happening. You kind of have to put it together yourself. And another favourite, which I read 4 times in the first year I read it, and I always go back for a reread when I'm feeling a little bit down, is Gallant by V. Schwab. There is Gallant. Gallant is an atmospheric book, and again, it isn't standalone, but it's very atmospheric. And you are following Olivia Pryor, who is mute. She just has no voice. She was born without any voice. She's never been able to talk, but she always makes sure she's allowed to be heard. She is called back to the House of Gallant. Olivia, 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 remember this. The shadows cannot touch, are not real. The dreams are only dreams, can never hurt you. And you will be safe as long as you stay away from Gallant. But she gets a letter from this random uncle she never knew she had that is calling her back to Gallant. And the school for girls that she's living with, they go, off you go, send her there. They had no idea that Olivia was coming to Gallant. They're like, what the hell is going on? We don't have any recollection of sending you any of this. And the uncle in question is now dead and has been for a long time. But there's the other Gallant, the Gallant at the end of the garden, the Gallant that nobody sees, the Gallant that comes out at night. And that is calling to Olivia. And it's atmospheric, it's kind of creepy, but it's not like scary creepy. It's very, very atmospheric in the way it's telling. And I just love the whole story of this. I've reread this so many times. The audiobook is really, really good because it has some sound effects, which is like in this letter that I just said, there are some crossed out words and it will do that sound of like the pencil on paper and crossing. And I love Olivia as a character. Even though she is mute, she is never quiet, like to the point where she will just smash a vase because people are refusing to look at her sign language, and she's like, fuck you, no, you will listen, I'll smash something, and always makes herself be heard. Is really, really strong as a character. And then everything about this book, I would read so many books in this world and with Olivia, but V.A. Schwab only wrote one, and I see why. It's staying at one. I still love it. Then we have Nettle and Bone. To be honest, you could almost argue anything by T. Kingfisher would fit into this. Now, I will be honest, with Nettle and Bone, I did do the audiobook for this, and I struggled until at least halfway to the 3/4 mark. Then I was really, really sold on this. But I was quite close to DNFing it, but then it did come around. So it's kind of a slow build book. So we have our main character, and there's a couple of sisters, and her sisters are suffering because of how they're being married off, how their husbands are treating them. But one of her sisters is married to a prince, abusive prince. And our main character, Mara, she is sent off to the convent to be raised as a nun, right? But she has decided she's going to come to her sister's rescue because her sister, the previous prince's wives, I believe, have all mysteriously died, and her sister is now married to this man. So she's like, I need to go save her from this horrible, abusive guy. And so she seeks help from a powerful grave witch. Mara is offered the tools to kill a prince if she can complete 3 impossible tasks. So on her quest, it is a very much quest fantasy, but it's kind of cozy, but also not cozy. It's kind of cozy-esque. Mara is joined by the grave witch, a reluctant fairy godmother, a strapping former knight, and a chicken possessed by a demon. I love the chicken. The chicken stole the show for me. I love the chicken possessed by a demon. Who doesn't love a chicken possessed by a demon? Come on. So together, the 5 of them intend to be the hand that closes around the throat of the prince and frees Mara's family and their kingdom from a Tyrannosaurus. No, that's a dinosaur. Tyrannosaurus ruler. Words and me, I really struggle, especially reading them out loud. But anyway, Nettle and Bone, it is a little bit slow coming, but it is something I kind of feel like I might go back to this year. I don't know, because it's been a while since I read it, and I did really, really enjoy it, to be fair, when I did read it. And it was something... It was just slightly different. It had that cozy feel, and yeah, it's still a quest fantasy, so it's still a little bit of time to build up to these points. But once you get to that point, and you're like, oh, okay, now we're off on the quest. We have all the people, we have all the gathering, we have the chicken possessed by a demon. Then things really, really took off, and it was just fun. The conclusion was really, really well done. I did like the characters as well. So it was one of my first T. Kingfisher books, and I did really like it. So anything T. Kingfisher will actually just suit you for this kind of season. She just writes kind of atmospheric, spooky vibe books. I did really like We Feast the Dead, which I think is a retelling of House of Usher. That was entertaining as well. Then we have something that is very creepy. Very creepy. The Devil Makes Three. This is YA. Don't let that hold you back. I adored this. This book is to do with possession of a creepy library of demons. So you have the young 2 protagonists who kind of a romance is by between them, kind of not. But one who works at the library and one who doesn't. And the character who, can I remember their names? Tess and Elliot. So Tess is working at the library. But what they do, they both stumble across this ancient book in this library. And what happens there is something is let loose. Something not quite nice. Something a little bit nefarious that can possess people. And it's possessed a lot of people, and it's coming after Tess and Elliot. And the way they deal with this, how everything's going, it's just incredible. It is dark academia because it is set in the school. But when Tess and Elliot stumble upon an ancient book hidden in a secret tunnel beneath their school library, they accidentally release a devil from his book-bound prison. And he'll stop at nothing to stay free. He'll manipulate all the ink in the library books to do his bidding. He'll murder in the stacks, and he'll bleed into every inch of Tess's life until his freedom is permanent. Forced to work together, Tess and Elliot have to find a way to re-trap the devil, where he kills everyone they know and love, including increasingly each other. And compared to what the devil has in store for them, school stress suddenly doesn't seem so bad after all. The way this ended, I can see a lot of people not liking the way it ended. I love how it ended. I absolutely love these kind of endings, and I can't tell you what it is because it is a massive spoiler, but I love Tess and Elliot. I love the world. I love the creepiness of this devil using ink, using other people and possession to get what he wants, on banging on doors, of terrifying these children and coming after them, and just, it's highly recommend. I absolutely adored this. Then we have Wayward, which is a witchy story, which is kind of historical, kind of not. It's through 3 timelines. And what it is, in each timeline you are following a woman. So you have the present timeline, which one of the main characters is running away from her abusive partner. And she goes to her old cottage that her grandmother used to own. Yeah, so it's 2019, which Kate flees London from her abusive boyfriend to a ramshackle wayward cottage inherited from a great aunt she barely remembers. There's things wrong with this kind of cottage, but in kind of what the main character might think is creepy, but we're like, we know what that is. That's a magic house. And then in 1619, you have Athla, who's waiting a trial for murder of a local farmer, who was stampeded to death by his herd. As a girl, Athla's mother taught her the magic, a kind not rooted in spellcasting, but in deep knowledge of the natural world. But unusual women have always been deemed dangerous, and as the evidence for witchcraft is set out against Altha, she knows it will take all of her powers to maintain her freedom. Then in 1942, as World War II rages, you have Violet, who's trapped in a ground crumbling estate. Straitjacketed by societal convention, she longs for the robust education her brother receives, and for her mother, long deceased, who is rumoured to have gone mad before her death. The only traces Violet has of her are a locket bearing the initial W of the word wayward, scratched into the baseboard of her bedroom. Weaving together the stories of 3 extraordinary women across 5 centuries, Amelia's Heart Wayward is the enthralling novel for female resilience and the transformative power in the natural world. I adored this book. This is full of female rage, but it's also full of what it was like in those times to grow up as a woman. To anything different, you were just witch, and it's like, that was not the case, but it happened. It also didn't always happen to women, but in this story it's focusing on these 3 women and the way everything comes together, especially for Kate's story as well, how that all came together in the end. I just absolutely loved it, and I felt for these women, and I really felt for like the 2 women in the past. You're like, hang on a minute, you're now no longer here, but the stories and everything that sort of wove together to tell this story was just done immaculately. I just loved it. I highly recommend that book. I did hunt down the special edition of that book, but I've lent it to a friend. And I have lent it to a friend for a long time, so I might have to just remind her, be like, hey, have you still got that? Because I took so long to hunt down for that special edition of that book because it was just sold out everywhere. I loved it. Empire the Vampire. I know not a lot of people like this author. He's a Marmite author. You like him or you hate him. There is kind of no in between, but I don't mind. I quite enjoy Empire the Vampire. And this is, for me, taking it back to vampire to its roots. Because I don't like the romanticising of vampires. I like the gritty of them. And people might say, but doesn't J. Christoph kind of romance? He kind of a little bit. He's playing on a lot of the lore that is going into vampires. But I'm talking of like Twilight and the romantic genre of what vampires are. This is what I like. I like the fact that these vampires in these books, they're dark, they're gritty, they're dangerous, they can't touch sunlight, they are now ruling the world. and you have Gabriel de Leon, who is a silver saint, which means he's a half vampire, half human, who is trained and tasked to hunt down these vampires. But the way Christoph has chosen to write the story, which I really, really enjoy, is not linearly. So when we meet Gabriel de Leon, he is trapped in a prison talking to Jean-Francois, I think. Anyway, French. I can't speak French. But he is trapped within his enemy, imprisoned, and he is telling a story to this vampire, which, I'm sorry, so many gay undertones between those two. Not gonna lie, so many gay undertones between them. And he's telling his story because the vampires want something that Gabriel knows in his memory. And they are trying to unearth what that is. So, but he's telling the story in a roundabout way. He's like, I'm going to start here, then we're going to jump here, because I've had enough of going back on all my family, because this is years and years in the past for Gabriel, and it's really harrowing for him to kind of tell his story and everything that's going on. So, that's kind of where we start. It can be a bit crude. If you don't like crudeness, you are not going to like this. But I still really enjoyed this book, and book 3 is coming out this year, which is Empire of the Dawn, and the way book 2 ended. So I think I'm going to reread next year book 1, book 2, and then finish the trilogy. Is going to be my plan. But there's something that's high on my list. If you like gritty vampires, you will like this. Hear me out on this one. Do hear me out. It's gothic. That's kind of the only thing that puts it on this list. It's the atmosphere you kind of have. It is a big book, so it may only appeal to a certain type of reader. But if you like magicians and you like the gothic and you like kind of an academic vibe, this will be for you. You follow Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. So Mr. Norrell is a stuck-up magician who thinks he knows best, but then he comes across and takes on an apprentice called Mr. Jonathan Strange. And it's basically a relationship between those two and magicians and government and in England in general. And there's a lot of things going on, a lot of years span this place. There's fairies kind of alluded to in the undertones of this, and some creepy things that kind of does happen within this book. There was a bit in the middle of going through the Napoleon Wars that did lose me a little bit, but I did really enjoy this book for the most part, and I do have a reading vlog of this, or a review or something. I'll try and link that below, but if you want to know more about this book. But this is something, this is good, this is entertaining. I never thought I would enjoy a book told like this that is as long as this. This has the same word count of Way of Kings, to give you some sort of context of how big this is. Yes, there are footnotes. You can read them if you really want to. They kind of add to the story, but I also don't think you would lose much if you decide to skip them. You might lose a couple of things I'm understanding on like the fairy side of things, but I do hope you're going to give this a try. Now, this is another one, and I thought this was going to be a series, which is The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson, and I really enjoyed this, but I've not heard anything about a sequel, and I read this the year it came out, which was in 2020, and it's 5 years later, and there's no sign of anything else. But I did really enjoy this when I read it. It's very creepy. Born on the fringes of Bethel, Emmanuel does her best to obey the church and follow holy protocol. For it was in Bethel that the first prophet pursued and killed 4 powerful witches and so cleansed the land. Then a chance encounter lures her into the dark wood that surrounds Bethel. It is a forbidden place, haunted by the spirits of the witches who bestow an extraordinary gift on Emmanuel, the diary of her dead mother. Fascinated by and fearful of the secrets the diary reveals, Emmanuel begins to understand why her mother once consorted with witches. And as the truth about the prophets and their history is revealed, so Emmanuel understands what must be done, for the threat to Bethel is its own darkness. Bethel must change, and that change will begin with her. This deals a lot around how women were treated, how women are treated in religious societies, how zealots act, how men can get away with a lot of things, how women are just blasted as witches because they're standing out or standing up for themselves or just stepping out of their little box of the norm that apparently men think we should be in. But also there's creepiness, there's witches, there's creepy forests, there's all sorts of things going on at the same time. So there's more to it than that as well from my memory. But I still really did enjoy this, and I do really think everybody should go pick it up, even though like it ends fine. It doesn't end on like a massive cliffhanger, but I do think it was intended to have a sequel. And there's nothing of that yet. And then there is Belladonna, if you want a little bit of romance in your life. This is not necessarily what I would class as romantasy, but it's also something that I think if you looking for something that hardly has any romance, it's not going to be for you. So you have Belladonna, who can never die and can see the dead, I think. And she ends up working with death to uncover a mystery our main character has been raised by very various of different guardians who are more interested in her wealth than her and herself. And she ends up with her remaining relatives, the elusive Hawthorns, an eccentric family living at Thorn Grove, an estate both glittering and gloomy. But the matriarch of that house recently died, and Belladonna can now see her, and she's now been told by this ghost person that she was poisoned. So Belladonna, with death, is sent to hunt down her killer. So I did really enjoy this, but I never really went further than that book. I was entertained by that book. I was like, oh, this is entertaining, this was fine. I didn't really think it was going to be me, but I did listen to it anyway, and it was fine. But I never read further into the series. I don't know if I will. It's not something that I keep gravitating towards, but if you kind of want a little bit more of a romantic side on your spooky reads, this would definitely be what I would ask for. And with a mystery, and it's gothic, and I did enjoy it. So, there you go. This is some spooky recommendations for you. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe. I hope you stick around. Put down your own recommendations for spooky vibe books in the comments for everybody else to pursue and pick up as and when they want. And I hope I will see you in the next one.